discussion today. We have expert person and strong experience in this topic to share with us. I would like to invite first one, Mr. Joe Hart, President CEO Dale Carnegie Training.
Hi everybody, it's terrific to be with you today. Good morning.
Hi everyone. So I hope that today you got like a lot of knowledge and insight or any tips that can actually help you to do digital transformation.
Hi everyone, glad to be here.
Okay, hi everyone. Can call me Sin, right? So very happy to be here and looking forward to all the learnings today.
Thank you for our panelists today, and I think we have exciting new discussion.
So the first thing is really to make a distinction between change management and change leadership. And we've talked about change management, but really, is it really changing people, or is it more about the processes, the systematic processes and things that need to change as we look to implement new things in our organizations? The distinction I'd really like to make is around change leadership. And that means making sure that our leaders have the ability to be resilient, to be positive, to be able to encourage people in the face of change, because we know that with change, many times people are resistant. They get reluctant to want to make change. So how do we make sure that we've got the attitudes? Change leadership is really about those attitudes and the skills that leaders need to drive organizational change. Now, we know, especially with all that has happened in the world in the last year, but even before that, before COVID, we saw an incredible amount of change around technology, around AI, around competitive environments. And so the environment that we are in today and that we will continue to be in is one of what we'd call VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. There are three keys that we're going to talk about this morning around this. The first is around mindset. So when something happens and we can see it as a challenge, do we welcome that challenge, or do we dig in and are we faced with fear? Leadership agility. What is the ability of the organization to move quickly, to pivot, and to address the change that is happening around us in a positive way? And then ultimately the human factors, those interpersonal skills. At the end of the day, everything comes down to human interaction and relationship, how we interact with each other. And the people in the organizations that will continue to be the most successful are those where people are the most skilled at building trust, at being innovative, at creating psychological safety so that their organizations can thrive. So let's talk about positive mindset first. And just to clarify, when we talk about a positive mindset, we're not talking about ignoring challenges or only seeing the good in things. What we are doing is we're saying that, for every crisis, there is an opportunity. Can we find it? Why is it that two people can look at the exact same situation and one person is optimistic and the other is pessimistic? What we know, and what we know that the data tells us, is that people who are positive are 3, 4, multiple times more likely to be successful than those people who are not. And part of the reason is because people who've got this mindset and this confidence expect better results, and they generally are able to get better results because that's what their expectation is. The mind is put into a point of creativity, of solutions. The opposite is also true, that when we aren't positive, when we're confronted with fear, if we think about the last year or even the time ahead, fear immobilizes us. It creates insecurity. It enables us, to be dysfunctional. And we want to make sure that the positive mindset is one that encourages people to move forward in a constructive way. The second idea is leadership agility. And this really is the idea that how do we act as an organization, and do our leaders have the skills to be able to drive those types of behaviors? Leadership agility isn't just about managing change. It's about unleashing creativity, and excellence in the organization so that the organization can thrive. But part of this then is how do we as leaders communicate that purpose? And it would be easy to say it has to be consistently and clearly and compellingly, but let's just talk about this, and let's talk about it in the context of maybe even just the example I just gave. To consistently talk about purpose means that do people in your organization, do they know what the organization's purpose is? Sometimes we talk in terms of profit and loss, and we have to. That's what the business has to achieve results. What we know is that most people want to connect to something bigger and bolder. Do they have an organizational purpose? I once talked to a man whose company made plastic pallets. These are the wooden, normally wooden things that fit underneath crates so that you can pick them up and move them from one place to the next. He had found a way to use recycled plastic as a way to do that. And he was fired up about that purpose, about sustainability, about the environment. And his employees were also. So number one is having that clear purpose and making sure that every single person in the organization understands it. It's consistently communicated, it's clearly communicated, but it's also compelling. It's something that drives people to want to give more because people want to get behind something that is a positive purpose. So the third part of this, these then are the interpersonal skills, the skills that people have. And sometimes we know someone can be technically excellent at a job and not necessarily great at that job if they can't relate well to other people. Psychological safety is one of those areas of high emotional intelligence that involves a team being open to ideas and creating an environment where people feel comfortable speaking up, where people feel comfortable. They're not afraid that if they say something, it's going to get shot down. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean the idea is going to happen, but it means that they're at least comfortable speaking and sharing their idea. Dale Carnegie wrote about change over 100 years ago. He started our company 109 years ago this year, and he talked about keeping our minds open to change. This is life. This is the opportunity that we have. It can be great if we look at things in the right way, if we look at change. He said, two prisoners looked out the prison bars, one saw mud, one saw stars. Let's encourage ourselves to see the opportunity, to see what can be right and what we can do with our organizations, the positive changes that we can make. And if we do that, it doesn't matter what comes our way, we will be successful. So thank you very much.
For the COVID-19, so what we can help the customers using technologies is that we have to actually help the customers to actually, rearrange the debt or debt restructuring to ensure that they can actually pass the COVID-19. So to be able to do that, very difficult for us if we don't know how to adapt to use technologies, because the incoming inquiries has actually grown like 1000% from the current situation. So to have the same number of team members and the same number of branch staff, and given that we have also to close some branch because of the COVID spread. So I think using the bot technologies and the things that can help us to facilitate the help to customers faster, that's the key. And to be able to do that, I think is the core values and is the team spirit. Because I think some of the team has to work until like 2 and 3 a.m. every day to ensure that they can actually build a stable structure or infrastructure to actually allow the collections team, customer service team, and the branch team to be able to facilitate the helps of the customers. And I think to do that, I think it needs a core values which is a very strong in terms of to build a culture in company, as well as the knowledge and how to adapt the technologies to the situation. So that's the case for Ngantik Law.
Shopee, we have like 4,000 or 5,000 employees, right? And then I think the challenge is, shifting to work from home. How do we make it very efficient, right? And then ensure that the team actually run as efficiently as they're doing, right? While the volume is increasing, and then they have to make sure everyone is safe. Yeah, and with like 4,000 or 5,000 people, it's really tough for us to do that. So a couple areas that we define everything we must get right to really make this happen is, I think one is a very clear communication between the teams, right, and the HR and also the management team, so we always know what's happening. And the second area is for every team to adjust the way of working, right, to shift from offline to like online work from home mode. And then lastly, how do we adjust the business priority, right, in time that suits the situation. So what we did, right, on the people side is that once we found the first COVID case, we managed to get everyone to work from home right away the next day, right? And then we did immediately the evaluation of the situation risk, and then we have all the level 1 people, people who contacted with the guy who get COVID to go check up, and level 2 to strictly quarantine. So I think that is quite good that we're able to evaluate the situation really fast, right? And then the second one to really make the communication clear is that we identified like the representative of every team, right? And then we have a very clear communication loop amongst team and HR and management, right? And all is done virtually online, right? To update all the things that are happening. And then lastly, we adjust the work process, to be suitable more for online. So I think output is pretty good, right? Once we get all that done, so we're able to like launch the first stimulus campaign to help out our sellers on our platform within 1 week of the work from home, of the lockdown. And typically at Shopee we launch a campaign, we need 2 to 3 weeks, right? But with this push, we're able to do it within 1. So I think that's a very strong collaboration of the team.
First, we need to understand that the trend is very clear. Everyone is moving towards digital, right? So that's very clear trend because there are many drivers. For example, right now everyone needs to stay home, and everyone when you stay home, everything is going to be through online channel. When you want to engage your customers, when you want to sell your services, deliver your services, things like that. So everything needs to go through an online channel, and for some businesses, it's not very, it's not common for them, right? Some of the businesses still rely on traditional channels like physical branches or partners, things like that. So there's a clear trend, demand, on the sales side and on the operational side as well. I think very similar to the other panelists mentioned, employees need to work from home. So that's another driver to drive for digital transformation. But the company still needs to operate effectively and efficiently. So how do we do that? How do we make use of the tools, to collaborate, to also deliver the same level of quality to the customers? And at the same time, how do we save costs, right? So, when we have idle capacity in the IT infrastructure, how do we optimize for that? So there are a lot of things to do in terms of digital to help improve the business, clear demand for digital. But I think the special thing about COVID is that there are a lot of challenges, and I would like to just talk about maybe one main thing. Which is basically, when you do investment like, digital transformation, business also suffers from, cash constraint as well. And right now in this situation, business already suffers from COVID. So it's really a dilemma whether you want to invest or not. If you invest, you're left with less cash. But if you don't, then you really don't have any business to run because everyone is going online, everyone is going digital. So I think, that's my take on the experience during this COVID period.
About the people, we have a lot of the few people who work with us for a long time, and I think the year of service is around 20 years almost. Adaptable is important. I think what must he do, what must we do is very important. The leader will be the lead them how to change and shift on that. And last one that we talk about discussion topic, we have the COVID situation on this time. For the leadership, I think is very important to changing the era and not easy for us to make the successful, but we need to keep fighting and passion to do. That's the situation we need to keep fighting and move forward to next step.
For me, either is normal change or like business digital transformation changes. I think it's a couple of things, right, to get right once we do it. So I think one is the lead by example. So you walk the talk, right? I think leadership team needs to demonstrate the change first, and then that's the only way that the change get cascade down the line. So I think that's very important that we show that we adopt the change, we do the change, right? It could be like new tools, processes, right? But then we have to show that we understand and we really do it. And second thing is, I think it's important to kind of show empathy, right? Try to understand the employee, because at different level, different functions, I think there's different challenges, right, to the same change. We get affected differently. So I think as a leader, I think we need to understand what's the situation of each unit and each level, and then try to help out really, you know, on for the unit that is a bit trouble in changing.
Yeah, I think in a similar way, I think good leadership is key to, you know, to change, right? So first, basically, I think, we need to, you know, the leaders need to be very, I would say, understanding. So they need to have empathy. They need to also understand what's going on and tackle it in the, you know, human way. So that's the first part. And I would say the second thing is that as a leader, right now, as business is facing a lot of difficulty, and you know, there's cash out every day, the situation is getting worse. So prolonged decision doesn't really help. So leaders need to make decisions very fast, act swiftly, and when you do nothing, basically you forgo opportunities as well. So delayed decision or prolonged decision doesn't help anyone. So leader needs to be decisive. That's probably the second thing I want to say. And also they have to have clear vision on, you know, where they want their businesses to be. So that's the second part.
The key important things, and I think, is trust. I think, like, especially when doing work from home, I believe that maybe 50% of the managers may be wondering what the team is doing at the moment. And I think when you think that way, it means that you don't trust the team, or you try to find the tools or the things to actually like measure what, like maybe you want to set up a meeting at 8 o'clock or 8:30 to ensure that everyone get up and then do the work. I think maybe before it works, but I think at the moment, especially for the new generations, I think they actually have high responsibilities, but we just have to trust them. Otherwise, they would see that we don't trust them, and then they don't want to actually show their the best capabilities to do the work for us. So I think that's the key, that to actually trust the people, have the sandbox for people to do the job, and then kind of like open for them to do any ideas or things. I think that help us to do the digital transformation better.
The second thing that would probably help leaders to act faster, to be more decisive, is to enable them through data. So a lot of good organizations have good data platform that would enable you to be more data driven in decision making. So that would be something that you might want to consider having it in your organization as well.
I think for empathy, it starts with like listening, right? I think sometimes as a leader, you're very busy, so you don't listen as much. I think we need to really listen. And then there's many ways to listen, right? It's like there's listen in the meeting, listen to the people you meet, and then how do you listen to the whole organization, which is maybe the survey I mentioned before. That's one way, right? So how do we systematically try to listen and get input from everyone, right, in the right time? So
I think to partner with people to make changes and to realize the value from the transformation, I think the first thing is to get people on board, to make them really understand what is the purpose of the transformation. I would say, even in digital transformation, it's not about technology. It's always come back to the people who drive the success. And at the end of the day, it's people that use the technology, right? So it's really not the technology. And what we want to, the way we want to partner with people is that we want them to be ready, willing, and able to adopt the digital solutions. And there are actually a few ways, a few levers that we can pull in order to really make them, on board with us. So first, I would say is about, rewards, incentives, things like that. So you need to also align incentives. You need to make people gain something from doing what you want them to do. And the second thing, probably very important as well, is inspiration. Leaders need to inspire people. They need to give reasons why people need to change. Leaders or even champions in the organizations are really a big part in the digital transformation, making a change. And I would say the last thing is to make them ready to reskill, upskill, to enable, empower the people in your organization to be ready for the change. So that's something that leaders need to keep in mind. So 3 things. And I think in terms of processes, at the same time you need to change the processes because technology can't help if you still do things the same way before you transform, right? So that's not going to help anything. So the goal is to make the process more lean, use less manual tasks, to be more data-driven, as I mentioned before. So that's something you might want to consider, changing the process, the way you do works. That would help, the process of partnering with people and also changing the process, the way we do works.
Okay, so I agree. As you can notice that I always talk about people because I think without people, technology is just technologies. They cannot do anything without the people. So I would actually make it simple for anyone to actually maybe start doing digital transformation is that the first thing is about people. So you either have the right people or you either train them or reskill them to ensure that they actually can accommodate the futures or the vision that the company wants to go and wants to do. If your people is not ready or if your people are very passionate to do things but don't know how or you don't know what you don't know, then you maybe hire a consultant to actually help you to have lay out the strategy or the process that you should maybe re-engineer the process in-house to ensure that you can actually go to the next level of the organizational transformation. So that's the key things to ensure that you can actually be in time with others. Because I think if this thing happening a few years back, you may think that okay, maybe in the next year I can consider it again. But today, 2021, I think there's no luxury timing for us to learn about digital transformation or to just think and relax and see what kind of things I want to take on. So I think this kind of sensitive of the timing. And I think when you have the people ready, the process ready, then the platform come in at the later stage. So you have the right people, you know what you want to do about the process, you want to lead the process or you want to re-engineer the process. Then you pick the right platform that actually fit to you and fit to your organizations. I want to emphasize that you don't go to the solution first or you don't go to the solutions that may be best for others because it may not be best for you. So you just have to understand your organizations, your people, your customers, the best process to actually keep the customers happy, and then you select the solutions. Maybe something can be handled by the technologies or something can be handled just change the process. So that could be easy.
I think I largely agree with the other two panelists, but then let me add in something. I think one key thing to successfully push the process in people is the early success case. You launch this big change. I think it's very helpful if within sooner rather than later that there's a success case for everyone to see, right? And then people will start to recognize, the benefit of the change, and then a little bit on the fear of missing out, right? And then they might wanna try to adopt the change a bit faster. So I think key is how do we get that early success case out really fast, right? And I think to get the early success out fast, I think one is we have to select the right group of people to start piloting the change, right? You cannot get, I mean, at least from my experience, you cannot change the whole army over one night, right? So we have to maybe pick certain group to kind of pilot and lead the change as example. Then once they do it well, then we slowly scale out to the whole organization. The thing I find useful is the influencer, the champion. So I think there's this framework we have, but then what I think he is the informal influencer, right? I think at every level of the organizational spine, there's going to be formal and informal influencer. So I think if we get those people to on board, then that's the best push you can have, I think, right? And then also on the feedback loop, like coming back to you, I think these people will be able to give you feedback really fast and very insightful. Yeah, so I think identify those people, includes those people into the process early on, so they can feel some ownership to it, right? And then use them to kind of push the initiative through.
Actually, fortunately, we have something similar to Shopee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the first thing is that we actually start from the recruitment. So normally, even though we are a very microfinance company under bank style whatsoever, but we are very selective when it comes to people. So everyone has to, I mean, the hard skill is like 50% taking into consideration because we think that we can actually always teach and coach and groom the people. But the most important is the attitudes and the thinking towards things around them. So then we have the core values, which is like 7 core values. And HR team and the line managers would actually use these two to actually talk to the talents and then see whether they fit to the companies or they fit to the teams. During the probation, if they don't fit to the teams, we actually won't let them pass the probation. So that's the way we can keep the people to the things that to the group that is kind of the tribe that we think the same. We have the same belief. We want to help the poor people. We want to stop the poverty in Thailand. So I think that's the key. And when we have the more people have the same core values, it's very easy for us to do anything else. So we can actually have the employee campaign, like for example, sharing the clip videos like during our IPO. We don't have to do any marketing budget. We can ask the 6,000 employees to share the video within 2.5 hours. We already get 6,000 shares. So that's the power of the people. And then we also identify the internal influencer because I think having 6,000 employees across nationwide, we cannot have the right communications along the way, for sure. So I think we have the actually this thing we learned from Suppose. We always send the teams before the COVID to Suppose to learn the new things. So then we build a trust system. Like every morning when we switch on the computers, we will see the questions asking, do you know this customer? No, do you know these employees? What's their name? Do you trust this person? Things like that. So if you don't know, you can just say that you don't know. So then this thing would actually have this data pulling out back end. And then our data team would actually analyze and see who is the node of the employees, who is the key influencers, and then we identify them to be culture heroes. And then we keep changing the culture heroes every 2 years. So then this person can help us to do any activities and communications. So I think that would help. This could be the idea for the big organizations and then have branches nationwide to actually keep engaging the people. So we don't bias by the line managers that normally would ask, okay, who's your representative from your team? Line manager may like this person, but the rest may not like this person. So whatever this person say, no one trusts. So I think that's the key of finding the key influencer from the trust system.
I guess to speed up the change, I think the key is to have transparency in your organization. And to have transparency, you need to share information. And I would say there are multiple levels of information sharing. So first, as a leader, you need to share your vision. So that sets basically a clear direction for all the people in your organization. I guess like the second thing, everyone needs to share their pains, right? So then they need to also share what they struggle with. And that would be very key to find the pain points, to find the root cause, and to find the opportunities where we can transform. And later on, we need to share a solution together as well. So when one of the members in the organization finds something very interesting, they need to share with the other people. So that would be something that helps speed up the entire organization to change.
Thank you very much. Thank you for our panelists. And we will have the white paper. If you would like to see the white paper, you can scan to get about the concerns about our topic today. And if you want to get more our topic, you can visit our website www.delcarnegie.co.th. You can scan now and you can get our information. For now, thank you very much for joining us today.